Alright, so I'm going to play Littlewood and show you the new card game that came out. So the way that you play the game in your town, you can do a couple things. So you can hang out with Max, or we're going to hang out with Max. You don't have to hang out with Max. He's just the duelist king, self-proclaimed. So we're going to hang out with him. And we're going to return to our house using the new feature that was just implemented. So we have Max following us around. We're going to lead him to the other side of the table. We're going to stop hanging out, and we're going to go battle this guy. He's ready to duel. So the way that the game works is you start off with 0 Arcana, here and here, and the way that you gain Arcana is by discarding a card or by drawing a card. So one way to gain Arcana is by playing a 0-cost unit, because you play a card which forces you to draw one. That gives you 1 Arcana, and you don't lose any because the unit costs 0, but my deck does not have any 0-cost units in it. So we're going to go ahead and Arcana boost, which will discard a card. He's going to take some reduced damage because of just the way he's set up. Unfortunately, we discarded Pegasus, which doesn't really give us any advantages here. So we're going to go ahead and play Merfolk. Merfolk deals 3 damage plus 2 if your opponent has more HP than you, and since we're fighting Max, obviously his HP is going to be higher because he has 30, which is the highest in the game, and we only have 10. So, of course, it's going to deal 5 points of damage unless it's reduced by another card. So he's going to deal 2 damage for each Arcana we have, and because of the way this deck works, it will only ever have 1 Arcana ever, unless we continuously discard cards for some reason, which there's no point in doing. So we're going to go ahead and block his damage with Pyro. And now we draw. Alright, so we drew a Jin, which will deal 3 damage plus 2 if we have less HP. Of course, we do have less HP, so we're going to go ahead and play that. I'd really like to play this soon, though. Alright, so he has Plesioth. It's going to deal 1 damage for each Arcana we have. And since we have 1 to begin with, it's only going to deal 1 damage to us, so I'm going to block it with Snail, which isn't going to be able to block anything. But the main point of that was to get the Snail into my discard pile, because Mimic does 3 extra damage when my top discard is Water. So we're going to go ahead and play that now. So we traded 1 point of damage for 6 there, if you noticed. And we held on to Jelly because he has a defensive capability. And since Minotaur is going to deal 2 points of damage for each Arcana we have, we're going to play him to block the fire damage completely. So we're going to take nothing, discard him. So you can see how this deck is working. We're not letting him deal damage, and then we're playing these large returned cards. So Cyclops is going to deal 5 damage, minus the 1 from his Minotaur reduction, and then minus whatever he plays against me. So what we're playing is cards because we want to get... So he blocked my damage with Medusa. So he doesn't have less HP than me, so he's going to only deal 3 damage. But we're going to try and play Orchid to block that. And we really want to get some fire in my discard here. And since we're backing up on cards, I only have 1 monster in my hand for defense. So it doesn't make sense for me to play Jelly because it's not comboing with anything. All of these 3 cards require a combo, so I'm really hoping to get some defensive cards. So I'm going to just play Warlock for the 3 damage chip. And unfortunately we only drew a water monster, but that ends up being beneficial for us, because it looks like he's only going to play a 0-cost fire. He's low on Arcana, so he's trying to build his Arcana here, and I'm just going to block his damage with the Snail, because Jelly will combo with it on my next turn. So he's reducing damage from Earth, which is not a problem for us, and it couldn't be better that we drew Jin here. So we play Jelly, it's going to deal full 6 points of damage. Now we're actually in the lead. So he has Wasp, it's going to deal 6 damage. We are going to want to reduce that with either Merfolk or Jin. But, of course, since Jin is losing his effectiveness, well, he won't when this damage resolves, but we're going to reduce the damage that we take to 4, and in exchange we're going to be able to play Pegasus, which will increase our damage will deal 6. So we're going to be in the lead here. He was able to reduce my damage with Merfolk. I'm going to be able, this is perfect. So I'm going to be able to block 2 of his 3 damage. He doesn't get to combo Medusa with anything, so I'm going to block 2 of his 3 damage with Merfolk. He's only going to deal 1 to me. Now my top discard is Water, and my Mimic will deal 3 damage plus 3. So if he doesn't reduce this, he dies. Alright, we beat Max, and I want to go over my full deck composition. One of the things that you can get from winning, if you saw it in the corner there, was the DeLuca present, and that will help you get some of the new statues in the game. So we're going to look at your deck, you just click on the table and then you go edit deck, and your options are fire, water, plant, light, dark. So my deck is combined of 3 cards that will fully block elemental damage from the fire, water, and plant, so Pyro, Snail, and Orchid, and 3 cards that will deal increased damage if we have less HP than the opponent in Djinn or Jin, I don't know how to pronounce that, Merfolk, and Cyclops. Jin, Merfolk, and Cyclops also have a defensive capability of reducing damage by 2, which is great. So this deck is slightly leaning towards water and slightly leaning towards fire. So I'm still debating on whether or not I really want Pegasus in there, or if I want to take out Pegasus and put in Medusa just to have an extra full block in there. I think that's actually a little bit better. So now we have Jelly blocks fire, Medusa blocks earth, Pyro blocks earth, and Snail blocks fire. So we have 4 cards that will fully block like all of the damage of some of the elements. So these are going to come in handy in reducing the damage, and they will synergize with the dark cards that I have put in, because I have 3 fire cards that could potentially be top decking or at the top of the discard pile, and I have 3 water cards that could be at the top of the discard pile. So we have 2 opportunities to play Medusa, and 3 opportunities to play Warlock, and 2 opportunities to play Jelly, and 3 opportunities to play Mimic, and then we're reducing a ton of damage. And that's basically all there is to it. You want to make sure that you're blocking every point of damage that you can get while maximizing the amount of damage that you deal and minimizing the amount of Arcana that you have. So all of these units are 1 cost, which means that when you start the game, you discard 1 no matter what, and then you always are going to be playing a card to have 1 Arcana, because if you noticed one of the cards that was being played against me, a lot of them will deal extra damage based on how much Arcana we have, and I forget which one it was. It was Minotaur, for example. He deals 2 damage for every Arcana we have, so if we have 4 Arcana, this is going to deal 8 damage for a 1-cost unit, but we will only ever have 1. So there's no way that Minotaur will deal more damage than can be blocked by Cyclops, Merfolk, or Jin. So I think this is the best kind of combination that you can go for. You could also slant your deck towards earth if you didn't want to go fire, or you could, it really doesn't matter. This is like on a statistical basis, like you're going to be able to defend against most people and defeat most people, unless they're fully stacking like dark and light, but you should be able to beat them pretty handily with the cards that you have here. So I would be interested to see what other people are doing, but this is the deck that I have settled on. Actually, even with this change, I'm really sold on it. I think it's a really good idea. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what other people's strategies are. Like, we beat Maximilian taking very, very minimal damage there. So yeah, I mean, if you're having trouble beating him, I would go with this. But if you have any other creative builds, I'd be interested to see the strategy behind it.